It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. It's Nielsen, Gager, huge wiener Gazzola is back with us as well, and flexing Hernan Salas here. That's Kenny Holland yesterday in free agency. Ooh, let's go. And we'll see how it plays out. We'll dive into a lot of that here today as we work our way through this episode. Of course, if you're watching on the live stream, please subscribe to the podcast. Just search Two Guys and a Goalie on all your podcast platforms, and we'll get that subscription. We would appreciate it. As always, our presenting sponsor is Coolbet Canada. And boys, I was kind of saving this as a little bit surprise, but Coolbet just signed on for another 12 months as the presenting sponsor of Two Guys and a Goalie. Let's go. It's exciting times. Yeah. Exciting times. So yeah, that's awesome. Chris Abbott's going to join us a little bit later on from Coolbet. If you are watching the live stream and you want to ask any questions or chime in, feel free to dive into the conversation in the comment section. We'll get to a few of those as well. Gager, what's up, buddy? How's the last 24 hours been for you, brother?
Well, I've had to work a little bit, but the information has been slowly filtering in, and what a day yesterday! Like your phone just keeps. I got that little alert with the light, so I thought I was extremely popular, but no, it was just all the amount of people getting traded and moving and stuff. It was a cool day. I found today really interesting. I think the NHL should implement all like the draft and free agent like all in one. Just have this kind of week of just boom, 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 do all this stuff right away, because it's a lot of fun to be part of. You know what's
crazy? You mentioned the phone going off like crazy. So I was driving yesterday for most of it. I was driving from like 11 till 5, and I had my phone kind of sitting up on the thing where I usually plug it in podcast or whatever, and we get, if you're out, the TSN has this hockey list. So anytime an insider posts a tweet, we get an email on it. And I got to Fort McLeod, and there was like 320 emails. I tried to delete a bunch of them. Went from Fort McLeod to Cranbrook, 180 emails. I was just like, this is insane. Like, Tommy, we were talking about it before we went live. Like, it seemed like guys were just signing guys just to sign guys. Some of these signings didn't even make sense yesterday.
No, it was just doing it just to do something. And speaking of that email list, I looked at my inbox this morning. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even going to scroll past yesterday. It's not even worth. I lost some emails or some from our engineering people asking me about the home studio setup. There was CTV asking stuff, and I'm like, okay, 306. Oh, that's important. That list is good, but man, it was humming yesterday. And yeah, it just, some of the signings, Dusty, it's like, what's the motivation here? And I think it's right to question some of them, maybe just to fill roster spots, but there's a lot of good players that were available, and there's still a lot of good players, reputable NHLers that are available as well. It's crazy.
Hernan, what was it like for you yesterday, buddy?
Just Twitter, man. My back hurt. I was sitting so much. So, and then after everything was said and done, I went for a few beers. I felt like I went to war and I didn't do anything. I just sat on Twitter, and you know me, I complained. So, but guys, I am excited. I finally got notice that my F1 hoodie is arriving today. It's only been a month and a week, so
5 weeks. That's not bad.
Yeah. I saw the tracking, and it's like out for delivery, expected before 5. I'm like, sweet.
And which one did you get again? I forgot. It's been so long.
Mercedes.
Oh, you got the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Patronus.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Bottas. Nice. A big Bottas hoodie coming for a week and a half until he gets cut during summer break for George Russell. But that's another entire podcast entirely, boys. Chris Abbott's going to be by. He's going to be by in about 10 minutes. So let's just dive right into what we got to talk about. Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about what's going on with the Oilers. Depending on the time after Abbott, we might dive into some other things that happened around the league as well. Let's go. Let's see here. Tommy, let's start with you, buddy. You're the guest here today, and for Matt Cassian, who couldn't join us. What do we got to talk about?
We got to talk about the goalies not changing, at least not yesterday. And, I tweeted it out. They were trying to move on from Mikko Koskinen. They were working the phones, doing their due diligence. And then we had Rashog on this morning for the mandate, as I filled in for you on the Smash Hit Nielsen show. And Schauger just teed off. He's like, we need to realize that he's a middle-of-the-road backup goalie. There is no demand for Mikko Koskinen. And I'm paraphrasing Schauger here, but he was was fired up. It was pretty good. People were liking fired up Chager, and despite Koskinen's decent numbers, I think Rashog just kind of hit home a point that should resonate, and it really does illuminate the situation if people still want to hold on hope that Valen Camus 920 is a real thing.
Maybe not.
Don't even cheer that. It's not real.
I don't know what happened. Maybe Shoggy's out of back medication. That's why he's so salty these past 2 days.
All week. He misses me. That's what it is. He misses me, boys.
Okay.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is.
Ouch.
I love.
Sorry, Tommy.
I love the comment that now that Mikko's in his contract year, he's going to have a really good year. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and he can. That agent of his, Hernan and I talked about it, and how his agent pulled something, the deal that he got. Like if his, we'll see what he can do this time around, but. Let's face it, he is a backup. Who's going to want a backup with a slow glove hand? That's just not a desirable thing for most teams in the NHL right now. But I'm optimistic.
You are, hey Gager? Like you're still optimistic between the pipes with those two guys?
Well, Dusty, we're like I've told you before, goalies we're a different breed of people, and we always think that we can make a team better, and we're kind of the guy. So, I mean, if Mikko can use this like a Robin Lehner and start reading his tweets and realize that everyone hates him, he can find a lot of motivation. I mean, bringing that kind of attitude into the season and wanting to do well and show everyone wrong, that's you can use that to your advantage a little bit. Let's see what kind of testicular fortitude this guy has in this year, because I mean, I remember hitting the ice sometimes and I could hear a couple people way up there with some choice words when I played. I mean, it's not going to be a welcoming environment when they announce his name for games. So have a good camp, start playing well, and who knows? Let's earn another. Well, let's not earn another deal, but let's just have a good year,
boys. Real quick, a quick story about this. I was texting with one of the big dogs, one of the big insiders, a couple nights ago. I'm like, hey, how about a little bit of interest for Koskinen? And he replied, from who? A men's league team? And I was like, that's not good. That's not good. Sorry, Nanso. Go ahead.
But one more thing. Sorry. I always thought, because it happened a lot when I played, and it happened with Tim Thomas too. I think he was under contract with the Oilers and they sent him to Finland because he had played there before. If I'm the Oilers and if he's not, I would really consider, just because people say send him to Bakersfield. I don't want Mikko in Bakersfield. That's the development for the Oilers' future goalies, and he's just taking time. Yeah, I would try to get him back to his, he'll go back to Finland and play probably a few more years anyway. So or Russia. I would definitely, they probably have, but if Stuart Skinner or Stalock look better, I would be looking at putting him back in Europe and letting him ride out his contract in Europe for the last year.
Is it okay, guys, if I'm concerned about the goaltending? I don't want to.
Well, it depends who you're talking to, but I mean, I think a lot of people are, Hernan.
And you know what was interesting? Holland said yesterday, he's like, with the season returning to normality and all that, in 82 games, and he goes, I don't expect Smith to play more than 40 games. So I'm like, Jesus.
It's in the time, buddy.
I'm like, okay, so who's getting the other 40? And listen, I Mike Smith, this duo has taken the Oilers to the playoffs in the regular season
twice.
Yes, and the bubble playoffs goaltending wasn't good enough. Both guys were bad. Last year, I mean, you're not going to put it on Mike Smith. I mean, I don't think he was the big issue, but it is a risk. It's a gamble by Kenny Holland to go in with these two guys. But who's to say Stalock doesn't push and one of these young guys? We have no idea. So, I mean, I get why fans are a little concerned about the goaltending, but when you look at their numbers, what they do in the regular season, they've been okay. Now it changes because it's 82 games, guys, right? And we've seen the struggles of Mikko Koskinen last year, letting that first shot in. He had that horrendous game towards the end. But I mean, if the plan is to play
4 goals
Mike Smith,
4 shots,
12 and a half minutes.
I remember we were all there and we're all like, "There's no way the 4th one's going in," and it did. We're like, "Geez." And so,
tough.
guys, I don't know. And Kenny Holland said, he goes, "What do you guys want me to do to get a goalie? Like, I have to trade Koskinen." And the craziest thing, Gager, we talked about it, about the agent. Like, not only did this guy get $4.5 million, he got a modified no movement clause, which is like,
Koskinen had only played like 20 games in the league at that point. It was unbelievable.
And imagine Buffalo's like, "Okay, fine, we'll take him for a year," but Mikko's like, "Well, he's on my list. I'm not going there."
Let me say this about the goaltending, and then maybe we'll move on to what else we got to talk about. Like, if you look at last year against Winnipeg, if you put Foegele, Eric Ryan, and Hyman into that series, I think they probably beat the Jets. Like, I don't think, like, Hellebuck was terrific. Oilers as a forward group, I didn't think did enough to disrupt things.
Yeah.
I know, the goaltending could have been better, but I don't think that goaltending cost them that series. So I think with a better forward group up front, the blue line, I mean, whatever, we'll have to get to it here at some point. But I think we might be, I know it's risky, but I do think we might be a little much too down on the goaltending, because I don't think that's what cost them this past season. So,
but Dusty. So let's say in December the Oilers goalie situation is not good. It's bad. Like, what can Kenny Holland do? Like, is that where he has to trade one of his top prospects to get a guy out of Columbus, for example?
Well, he can just bury Koskinen and trade for somebody, like, if you have to.
Yeah.
Right. So there are ways around it, which I think there was just probably what he's thinking. He's saying, okay, well, we got to pay for these guys. We got to do CC, whatever. We'll ride with these two goalies, and if it ends up being an issue, trade for somebody at the deadline. Because, I mean, you probably don't have faith in either of them in the postseason, even though I have a little bit of faith in Mike Smith in the postseason. So it does. I can understand why it would infuriate fans that we're still sitting here talking about Koskinen and Smith after all that cap space, and we're still sitting here talking about it. That is a concern. But like Gager pointed out, contract year for Mikko. He's going to go out and earn himself another 4-year deal somewhere along the way.
Can you imagine the Oilers re-sign him?
Buddy,
don't.
Just mute your mic. Mute your mic, you dumb bastard. I can't believe you would even suggest that. Mind you, I never thought they'd give him the 4-year deal in the first place. So
I think his agent is Ray Donovan. That's why he got that deal in the first place. Didn't he? Is that? That's who I need. Ray Donovan for my agent.
Wow.
All right. Let's go. Hernan, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
Yeah, it's crazy because on Tuesday night, rumblings of Bear getting moved and all that. Then it all came down Wednesday morning, and you saw the return. And at first, you're like, Oren Foegele, but after seeing the reports from people that cover the Carolina Hurricanes and guys that have watched them a lot, and hearing him speak to the media, I mean, like, he's growing on you, man. He's 25 years old. He's got some offense. According to the reports, he's very good 5-on-5. He scores a lot 5-on-5. He can kill penalties. He can muck it up. He's physical. So listen, I know it's not popular here to give up young defensemen, and people were up in arms about it, but I mean, it was going to be either Bear or Bouchard, especially when you knew Barry was coming back. And right now, I'd probably lean towards keeping Bouchard. Bear's going to be a quality guy in the NHL. He's probably suited as that number 4 or 5 probably going forward here. He gets a fresh start, but I'll be honest. At first, I was kind of like, you can't trade Ethan Bear, but now I kind of like this trade. I like the player they got. He makes the bottom 6 stronger. He can probably moonlight in your top 6 if there's injuries, and I really like the addition of this player. I like the age. I like what he brings, and we'll see what he gets for a contract. But I'll be honest, guys. At first I wasn't high on this trade, but now I'm loving it.
Who else wants to take a run at this? I'll drop my hot take in here, and then I'll step back, and you guys can chat. From the very beginning, I thought it was a fair trade. Somebody else go next. Get me out of the heat right now. Somebody else go.
Well, okay, if you want to look at it, and Nanso alluded to it, it's a decision between, okay, it's time to win now.
Yeah.
You have 2 young, up-and-coming right-shot defensemen on your right side. Are you going to win with 2 of them in your lineup developing still? Bear's still developing. Or are you risking it because there's going to be those odd nights where both of them struggle, they get keyed in on? What do you do? So you cut bait on one of them, try to turn that into an asset. Which one do you choose? They chose to trade Bear because, Bouchard, you look at him, he does have a high ceiling offensively. He's a bigger guy, still moves well. And so I think that they made the safe bet. Whereas Bear, Dusty, we talked about it on the oil stream yesterday, 2 out of the 3 prior seasons, he came in not up to snuff fitness-wise, according to people within the organization. And that's not good. So I think that probably contributed to making the decision easier for the Oilers to move on from Bear. I think Ethan Bear is going to be a very good defenseman in the NHL. I really do. It's up to him how good he wants to be, how much committed he becomes to being a pro every day. Consistency, as Struddy says, and commit to fit, all that stuff. But I think they made the safe play. They get a guy that's been around a bit longer, and they change up the look of the back end. That's basically how I look at it. And it's tough because Ethan Bear, very likable, great guy. I remember meeting him on draft day, and that's when I got to know him. Obviously, the connection to not just the community at large, but the Indigenous community in Alberta and Saskatchewan is huge too. Brings the team closer to the fans closer to the team. You lose that, but on the ice, you want to win games. And developing 2 right shot guys at the same time while you're trying to become a contender is pretty tough to do, I would say.
How many years was Nato and I? We talked about this yesterday. How many years was Ethan Bear with the organization total? Like within the minors, was it 5 years, 6 years?
Since they drafted him, I think it'd been 5.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, Tommy alluded to the fact with the training and being prepared and being ready, and I think there comes a time this isn't minor hockey anymore. This is big business, and there's been too many instances where there have been rumblings that he hasn't been totally focused on preparation for the following season, and just starting the year a little bit behind the 8 ball. We see what that happens, and we've seen that with Ethan Bear, where his play hasn't been quite where it should be at the start of the year. Starts getting better, and I think unfortunately for him, with getting that puck in the head really affected him, getting that concussion. That was another setback, and it got to the point where he couldn't even. They wouldn't even play him in the playoffs. So they've had the chance to evaluate this guy for a long period of time, and I think there's a lot of good upside with Ethan Bear, but they just haven't seen the commitment. And like Tom said, the Oilers are winning now. Like their window is just really, really starting now. Every year from here on in, I think is if there isn't success, it's looked at as a failure. So they just don't have time to wait for a guy to figure it out that this is really important.
Gager, can you reconnect? Your mic is a little sketchy right now.
Is it?
Fire that back up, and then we'll bring him back in. We're going to go to Chris Abbott as well here right away, and then we'll continue with, we got to talk about a couple other things that we definitely need to hit on as we work our way through the show. But Gage is going to reconnect. Let's bring in Chris Abbott, actually, with CoolBet Canada, presenting sponsor of the show. As we mentioned, they just said they're going to be with us for another 12 months, which is huge. Let's bring in Chris. Chris, first of all, how'd we suck you in for another year, buddy? This is great.
No, well, it's absolutely been outstanding, a good relationship. And obviously the brands are starting to just become synonymous with each other. So why wouldn't we do this for another year?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it still comes back to your huge man crush on Gager from when he played in the American Hockey League, but we'll take it, Gager?
Whatever gets you, whatever floats your boat, buddy.
Still haven't got
you're fancy.
Still haven't got my signed Cape Breton Oilers jersey, but we'll work on that.
Oh, it's hey, that Suez Canal thing, man. It got stuck. We'll, once we get that thing out of there, we'll be all right.
Chris, crazy busy day yesterday. What jumped off the page for you, buddy?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've been knocked down for a couple of days with a migraine headache. Anyone who has those will understand that I've been hiding out under the covers for a couple of days. But yeah, those so many deals and moves made yesterday. I like the Blake Coleman deal for Calgary. I think he's a player that they can use. Certainly, they need more guys like him. Being in Toronto, I just watched them sign, wish after wish after wish of somebody they hope is going to hit at $900,000. And obviously, big day for you guys in Edmonton. I mean, there's a lot of movement, but it remains to be seen if it'll be positive or negative. But I mean, obviously that Zach Hyman deal is massive. Like, if he can open up some space for McDavid, that could be a special pairing on a line together.
Chris, how does the Toronto fan base look at Zach Hyman leaving? Because I know he was quite popular on the ice and especially off the ice too with some of the stuff he was doing. Is that I know sometimes fans can look at it as being a bit of a traitor, or are they happy for him that he's come to Edmonton and now playing with the second best player in the league?
I think it was just a feeling of inevitability. Everyone knew that he needed to get paid, that he would get paid, and that the Leafs don't have the money to pay him. So, unless Toronto was going to move on from one of the guys that they've got a big price tag on, Zach Hyman probably wasn't going to be in the picture. So I don't think it's any. I don't think there's going to be any sour grapes there. Everyone's happy he got his money. Probably they don't feel as happy that it's with Edmonton. Probably would have looked a lot better for Leafs fans if it was like LA or Anaheim or something like that. But the fact that they're still going to see him on TV and probably doing some damage against their team when they meet a few times a year, it's probably going to sting a little bit more.
Chris Abbott with us from Coolbet Canada. A couple places I wanted to go, Chris. One, obviously, I guess we have to wait for the dust to settle before we get sort of any NHL odds that will come out. One thing I want to put in a request. I don't know if you can make this happen at some point in the offseason, but I want to get like a running odds going for the next 5 years as Ovi tries to track down Gretzky. Will Alexander Ovechkin catch Wayne Gretzky? I'd be fascinated to see what those odds are right now and to just have it up there forever, because I'd probably be buying in every 6 months depending on what the numbers are, but I think we need like that Ovi GOAT tracker bet if we can get it.
All right, I'll make the ask. I mean, I know the guys don't love to keep stuff up for that long because a lot of things can change in 5 years. We don't like holding people's money for 5 years, but that's certainly an interesting one. I like it. Maybe we can get it done.
Do you think he gets it? It's 5 years he just signed for it. Somebody said he needs to score 33 a year to break Gretzky's record.
There's no reason he can't do that. He's probably got another 50 season in him somewhere along the way, right? So as long as he can stay healthy, I think he's quite capable of doing it.
I think he's going to do it too. So do you climb back under a blanket right now, Chris, like for this migraine or what? I can't believe you joined us with a migraine.
Well, I'm coming out the other side. Nobody really cares. But I had a chiropractor appointment this morning to shake some stuff up in there, and I'm feeling a little bit better. But I've been neglecting you guys for the last few weeks, so I got to make sure that I can get on when I can.
Mr. Vegas,
it's all Vegas.
Right.
Just stay out of Vegas.
Ooh.
Jesus, man.
I usually have a migraine when I come home from Vegas too.
Yeah. No, I don't know that they're correlated, but hey, maybe they are. Who knows?
There you go, Chris. Appreciate the time, buddy. Thanks a lot.
All right, fellas. Thanks so much. Talk next
There you
week.
go. That's Chris Abbey. You can find him on Twitter at CoolBetChris. Really funny follow, actually. So give him a follow at CoolBetChris. And once again, like we mentioned, they're on board for the next year here, sponsoring Two Guys and a Goalie again. So sign up for an account. Use the bonus code, the number 2 in the word guys. You get 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. That Ovi thing, he's going to get it, right?
I had that written down too. You stole my thunder. Darn.
Sorry, buddy.
You know what's
But at least
crazy?
we were thinking the same thing. When you signed that deal, that's what I thought about for the first contract. That's what
Gager, you got to reconnect again. You're like frozen.
You're like a-
Hernan,
you're like
what
a
were you going to
robot.
say?
I was gonna say, you know what's crazy, boys? Like COVID, shut down the season, and then last year was only 56 games. Imagine if Ovi had those games. Like, oh man,
Half
like,
a season as well in 12-13.
His rookie year was delayed by a
rookie
year,
year.
else he would have been over.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Incredible
crazy.
consistency. This is one of the Gretzky records. Like, as an Edmontonian and obviously someone who covers the team, you kind of are like, well, there's some pride element to what Gretzky was able to accomplish as an Oiler. He put the city on the map, obviously. The team certainly, although a lot of that shine is completely worn off many moons ago. But like, you kind of want to keep those Oiler records intact to point to people and be like, they did this, and this is how good they were. Gretzky was amazing. However, with this record coming up, I think he can break it, and I'm kind of excited to see him break it. It's one of the ones, the many records that Gretzky has where I would be like, yeah, you know what? I watched this Alex Ovechkin do it for 20 years, consistently amazing, just an unbelievable knack for scoring so many different ways that I would just completely applaud that and be like, way to go. It just cements your stature as one of the giants in the game. And truly, that's what we're witnessing. So I think it's a cool thing. I think he's going to get it done. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. Like you said, here in Edmonton, we're kind of like, but it's an Oiler record. It's Gretzky. But to be able to watch Ovechkin from day one until, like, let's say 5 years from now, and he breaks it, it'd be truly amazing. And Obi's one of the good guys, man. Like, how can you not cheer for that guy?
Yeah, he's an
Pittsburgh
absolute
fan.
stud. I think the best part about it is that he will celebrate as much for the 900th as he did for his 10th. You know, like he just he loses his mind every single time, which is just absolutely incredible. He's a phenomenal talent. So we'll get to that. All right, we're going to get to what Gager had to talk about, and I'm having a little trouble bringing him back in here, so you have to give me a second to reconnect with Gager here, because are you guys seeing him at all, or is it just a black screen?
I've got question mark.
Question mark.
Yeah.
No.
Is he coming back?
He's gonna have
there
to
he
reconnect. Is he back now or no?
Now it's a white screen.
No, that's a white screen. Well, we'll have him reconnect, so we'll get to that a little bit. Okay, what I wanted to talk about, and then we'll bring in Gage and come back around to the Oilers conversation. Just your guys' thoughts on anything else that happened across the country. I mean, Chris Abbott talked about Blake Coleman going to Calgary. Mike Hoffman ends up in Montreal. Toronto decides to go get Mrazek. Winnipeg, I thought, did some fine work on their blue line via trades. But, Hernan, what jumped off the page for you around the rest of the country?
I think I got to go the amount of goalies that moved. Like, it was truly unbelievable. Like, you see Mrazek go to Toronto, Freddie Anderson to Carolina. You're seeing Halak go to Vancouver. Like, it was just – and the whole Grubauer one threw me off. I'm like, how did Colorado not pay him that? And then he ends up in Seattle, and they jumped on Darcy Kemper in a first-rounder in is it Connor Timmins? Yeah, like they paid a hefty price for it. So – I think that jumped out to me. Like, I've never seen that much movement for goaltenders. It was crazy. And I shouldn't, like, I don't think any deals were ridiculous. Like, I mean, maybe Grubauer, but he's only 5.9. Yeah, he's going to have, it's going to be different in Seattle than it was in Colorado. So we'll see. And I think we almost have to bring up the Dougie Hamilton deal. Like, man, like, what a deal. $9 million for that guy to go to the New Jersey Devils. Now they have two defensemen at $9 million there. So, I mean, is that a contract that the Devils kick themselves later on? But right now they're just trying to improve. So they had to overpay for Dougie, but good on Douglas, man. He got paid. So for me, the story of yesterday outside of the Oilers stuff was how many goalies moved.
Tommy, what about you?
I'll sneak this one in there. I think it flew under the radar a little bit, and then I've got the one that actually matters. I don't know if you guys caught the first rendering of the new arena in Calgary and how underwhelming it was. And and listen, I don't want, it's fun to.
Where'd you see it, Tommy?
It was tweeted out by one of the council members in Calgary. And boys, it looks like a new version of the old Stampede Corral. I saw the outside. Of course, the inside will be different. I'm sure that they're going to put some money into it and make it adequate for the National Hockey League. But it really feels like that it's going in the wrong direction. There's been all kinds of hiccups and snags. And as much as it is fun to have the Edmonton-Calgary rivalry and to make fun of Calgary as an Edmontonian, or for a Calgarian to make fun of an Edmontonian, like, we're all Albertans in the end, obviously. And I'll say this, like, Calgary's a fun city, very similar in a lot of ways to Edmonton. Maybe the people are a bit different, but they really do not have adequate facilities for their pro sports teams. They have some great one for minor sports, obviously. The Wynn Sports Center is tremendous. It's like Terwilliger, but it has more of a focus on the Olympic athletes. But, man, there are venues for pro sports and concerts and arts and stuff like that, or big concerts, if you will. Just totally lackluster. The football stadium's not good. The Saddle Dome, the roof is barely holding up. When there's a big snowstorm, they have to send up engineers to check it out to make sure there's not cracks in it and that it's still safe. And then, I'm sure they're going to build a facility, an arena for the Flames and the Hitmen and all of that and all their concerts that gets the job done. But, man, like, it doesn't. It looks underwhelming. And I texted some people in the know down there, and they're like, "Yeah, it's not headed in the right direction. It won't be as nice as some of the other rinks in the National Hockey League, namely ours here in Edmonton." And I honestly, put aside the Calgary Edmonton rivalry and making fun of Calgarians making fun of Edmontonians. It's a bit disappointing. You'd like to see some pizzazz and snazziness there and them try to one up Edmonton. Maybe they still will, but it doesn't look like it's headed down that road. And that first rendering wasn't very reassuring at all. And then the other thing was the Carolina Hurricanes and what they did. But it's up to you guys. Take it where you want.
Is it the one that looks like a cowboy hat? I'm looking at one right now.
It looks like, well, it says event center on the side. That's the one we saw, right, Tom? It just looks square.
Okay.
It's like looks
It's
like a
square.
library, essentially.
Yeah.
That's not good. Gager, welcome back, buddy. We were talking about what else outside of the Oilers stood out for you yesterday. What else jumped off the page for you?
Well, I think Tommy alluded to it. The Grubauer signing was puzzling to me because I think I talked about this months and months ago about wanting to win a Stanley Cup and getting into a situation where you can win a cup. I think that the Avalanche are a lot closer to me for to be part of a team that's going to challenge for a Stanley Cup for the next few years, and to go to an expansion team that doesn't look like they're going to be competing for a cup anytime soon. It just puzzled me. Maybe there was something else that went on there, something with those negotiations that he found that he didn't like, but that's the one that stood out most to me yesterday, Dusty, is why he would leave at that point. And maybe it just came down to, like I said, goalies are different. We think we mean more to our team than sometimes we are, and he thought his worth was more than that what they were going to give him. But I don't think for that amount of money to be a Stanley Cup champion didn't make sense.
Do you guys do you have a preference, Kemper or oh my God, I can't remember his name now. Grubauer. Well, Gager?
See, I would go with Kemper. I think he's shown that he makes a average team a little bit better when he plays. That's always a sign of a really good goalie to me. With Grubauer, I just haven't. He's a good goalie on a good team. This year's a really good barometer of how good he actually is, and to make that team competitive. You look no further than Marc-Andre Fleury when he went to Vegas. He made those guys a contender because he's such a good goalie. Well, maybe Grubauer's that guy. But I haven't seen anything to show me that he is a difference maker in that way.
Who's the number 2 in Colorado?
Well, it was Francouz, right? He was banged up a bit
Dubnyk
last
at the
year.
end.
Well, Dubnyk at the end, but wasn't it because Francouz was hurt? Like, he's still there, I think. So, all right, Gager, what do we got to talk about, buddy? The big question.
Well, the big question is, are the Oilers better? And the initial shock of Larson leaving, and then some. It looked like there was a bunch of holes, and now with Hyman, the Barry signing. I mean, Hernan and I were talking about this yesterday. I love that deal for probably the guy that's most likely going to lead the league in defensive scoring again at that cap hit. That's amazing. And I gave Holland a B- yesterday for his work on free agent day, because I think he filled all the holes that were needed. The only thing lacking, obviously we talked about before, is on the goaltending side. But I said this yesterday again, the way that the Tampa Bay Lightning play is they're so aggressive without the puck, and to force teams and turnovers in certain areas of the ice and counter. And I think with the addition of those two guys that the Oilers have, that play a little bit different style and a little bit more tenacity without the puck, I think the Oilers are better suited now for games come springtime next year. This is I think they on paper, I like the look of the Oilers right now. And of course you get what's his name, Derek Ryan, former U of A Golden Bear, back in the fold. That's pretty cool. I like that's a good story. I hope he has a great year. And what was his face-off percentage last year? Like,
Ask Bob.
I think it was like 53% or something like that. Like, he
might have even
crazy.
been better. He's been really good there. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly what they needed for a guy to go out and take a bloody face-off, so Draisaitl doesn't have to do it all the time.
Yeah, and keep Draisaitl for what he's paid for is to play with the offense instead of possibly losing the draw and having to stay in your own end for a minute and a half, right? So yeah, I like it, really like it.
Boys, what do you think?
Yeah, I talked about it earlier today on my pod too, and with the con man, and I think you have to say they're better. I mean, goalies remains the same. They've been playoff team the last 2 seasons. I think up front they definitely upgraded the forward group. Hyman's gonna solidify that top 6. I love Fogle and Derek Ryan in your bottom 6, and then and there's gonna be some young guys pushing, man, like Holloway. What does Tyler Benson bring to the table? I mean, there's a lot going on. So I like the forward group. I think it's one of the more talented forward groups we've seen here in a while. The only question I have is the decor. I think Keith, Ceci, and Bouchard. If they're good, the Oilers are going to be competing for the top of the division. If 2 of those 3 struggle, I don't know, man. I think they're gonna they might be fighting for a spot there in the playoffs. But overall, guys, I think you have to say they're better just because of what Kenny Holland did to the forward group. Because now you got 3 strong. Sorry, not 3. You got no, that's right, 3 strong lines. Like you got 9 quality guys, and then that 4th line is shaping up to look. It's not looking bad either. So I say they are a bit better right now, and Kenny Holland's not done. He'll continue to improve this team.
Boys, I concur. On defense, my sentiment with them is, okay, let's see what happens. Prove it that you're better. And if you really want to break it down, you've got a guy that's more experienced than Cody Ceci. Is he going to be more consistent than, say, Ethan Bear was? When Bear was good, he was really good. When Bear was bad, you noticed him for all the wrong reasons. What does Evan Bouchard look like in his first full National Hockey League season as an everyday player? Big question mark. But I would probably say that having Duncan Keith rather than Dmitry Kulikov is better.
Huge
right?
upgrade.
Like not even a question. So I look at the defense with cautious optimism, but it's almost like, hey, please go prove it that you're better than what this blue line used to be. And then we've talked a lot about the goaltending, and you're right, guys. It's been a pleasant surprise these past 2 seasons. Can it be a pleasant surprise for a 3rd straight season? I think that's a bit dicey. Definitely a reasonable question mark for the goaltending as well going into this year.
I don't even think it's debatable. I think they're definitely a better hockey team than they were when they got swept by the Winnipeg Jets. I think that forward additions are significant. I think the blue line has potential to be even better than the one was last year. And if we've been pleasantly surprised for 2 consecutive years by the goaltending, maybe that's just what it is now. So maybe that. I mean, I wouldn't doubt Mike Smith for 40 games and then the postseason. So I do think they're significantly better. I also think that after 20 games of Evan Bouchard, nobody's going to care about Ethan Bear anymore. Like, I think Evan Bouchard's ceiling is so much higher than Ethan Bear's would have ever been. I think as Bouchard starts to settle in here a little bit, you're going to look at it and go, holy smokes, Bouchard's. I'll ask you this question because I was going to do some keep it or clip it, but we're not going to have time for it. But Evan Bouchard will be playing top 4 minutes by February for the Oilers. Keep it or clip it.
Yeah, I was literally just gonna ask that. Like, is CC, like, in an ideal world better off on that 3rd pair? Like, I mean, making too much money to be on your 3rd pair, but does he start in your top 4 and then it's that just slow transition into Bouchard? I because that's the way I see it. So I'll keep it, I guess.
I'll keep it. I think he'll be there.
I will clip it, boys. Let him spend the whole year on the 3rd pair. Okay. Don't overwhelm him with too much. And here's the thing is, and this came up before the Barrie signing, it's like, well, if you kept Barrie, then what's Bouchard going to do? Because he's going to need power play time. Here's the caveat. Maybe you can have both of them on the top unit power play. Bouchard's got the shot from the sidewall, something they don't really have right now outside of Barrie at the top. You have McDavid on one side, Draisaitl down low, then you throw Nugent Hopkins or Puljujarvi, depending on the situation. And then you got potentially Barry at the top and Bouchard on the other half wall with that one-timer. Lots of options potentially. So I don't think Barry's holding Bouchard back. I don't think CC's holding Bouchard back.
I don't think it's a situation, though, where they'd be forcing Bouchard. I think there might be, after 4 months of playing every night, he might just be good enough that you're playing him more, right? Like, we don't know yet, but I think he's capable of that.
I hope he is.
And Tommy brought up the power play, boys, and as sexy as the Oilers' power play has been the last 2 seasons, just imagining that with Hyman in front of the net. Like, it's unreal.
Yeah.
You could
The
roll
disrespect
out
for Jesse Puljujarvi is driving me crazy right now. First, he has to wait behind Neil and Chason, and now he's for Hyman, who's been criticized for not being scoring when he's getting grade A opportunities. My goodness, episode over. That's it. We're done. We're done here. That's gonna do it for another. We were gonna go anyway. That's gonna do it for another episode.
One sec, Dusty.
Yeah.
I got it's one of our top listeners. My mother. It's her birthday today. She's old as rope, loves the show. Tried to phone her this morning, but she's she screens her calls, so I guess she didn't make it to the phone before I left her a bad message. But happy birthday, Mom. Love you, and I'll just answer on the second ring, okay, please.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, thank you very much for being a committed fan of Two Guys too. That's great. All right, that's gonna do it, boys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see we're gonna have a ton of content here as we work our way through August as well. Thank you to everybody who's been watching on the live stream. If you've been watching, subscribe to the podcast so you do not miss an episode. It's all brought to you by our friends at Cool Bet Canada. For Gager, Hernan, Huge Wiener, I'm Nielsen. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Boys, we'll talk soon.
Later, boys.
See you guys.
See ya, guys.